The ongoing conflict between the Trump administration and Harvard University is intensifying. Now, President Trump now threatening to pull $3 billion, and yes, I said it with a B, worth of federal grants away from the university, which he calls anti-Semitic. He's considering giving those funds to trade schools across the nation. We also know, Arif, that Trump has accused the university of being slow in handling, well, let's say not only handling, but then handing over information on foreign students. So, yet again, in this case, the billion-dollar question. What's going to happen with all of this, Arif?
Yeah, great question. I expect the Trump administration to really hold its guns towards this idea. And here's part of the problem that people don't realize. They have a full tax exempt status. So Harvard has 55 billion, depending on who you ask, $55 billion in an endowment. And an endowment is designed to only spend the interest. If you think about that, this endowment is enough money to pay for Harvard students for over 100 years. My estimate is probably 200 and 225 years. They don't need our money. Here's the challenge that people don't understand in this push and pull for higher education. Look, the foreign students, about 30%, 1 out of 3 students at Harvard are from a foreign government, and they pay full freight. They pay everything. Now, you might think, well, that's great. That means the American students, the other lower income students, they don't have to pay as much. The problem is they also take a spot. And when you take a spot away from an American student, they don't have a chance to attend. If Harvard was to use part of the endowment plus the still discounted rate for the Americans, I think more U.S. citizens could become Harvard educated, and it can go back to retaining its value as a institution of higher learning that's respected.
Yeah. I would argue that it looks like this is really going to play out in the courts, something that perhaps a lot of us didn't think that we would see during our, let's say, lifetime, I would say. Let's move on to consumer confidence, Arif. Great news for President Trump. Actually, it's improved for the first time since November. Consumer confidence rose 12.3 points this month to a reading of, get this, 98. That's the highest that we have seen for quite some time. And economists say, hey, to be honest, we thought it was going to be around 88. Good news, as I stated, for the president.
Yeah, much to the chagrin of the Democrat Party and the left wing of American politics. Part of the reason is the tariff conversation really hasn't come to fruition in the negative impact in American consumer. We see it, but it's in the little things, the T-shirts and the little plastic items we might buy. Certainly China produces much higher quality and larger cost items, but Americans aren't feeling it yet because it takes about 3 months for those tariffs to really get through the pipeline economically. I think you're going to see American consumers consider this highest level of confidence, which means they're going to spend. Important because the stock market isn't going to get as many dollars going in if you and I are going to spend it. It's the higher end and the middle class that put money into the market. Only about 40% of Americans put money into the stock market. The rest of them spend it.
Yeah, Arif, you made mention of those T-shirts. Is it just me, or every time I order a T-shirt off of the internet, it always ends up to me being too small? I got to figure that out. That's what mainly concerns me in my lifetime. We're going to move on to this case to Trump considering new sanctions on Russia as he grows frustrated over attacks in Ukraine. Now, options were drawn up in the past several weeks to apply new measures, but the president said, well, hold up, wait a minute, let's not do it as yet. The president yesterday said he would absolutely now consider new sanctions in the aftermath of a sustained missile and drone bombardment that left many dead. What do you think is going to happen with all of this?
Yeah, the reality is there's a zero chance that Ukraine can win this war and escape without losing some, if not a lot, of territory. This has many options to play itself out, but one of them is not Russia surrendering and returning back to the original borders. So we expect Russia to really sue for peace, but on their terms. Once they realize that Ukraine is losing massive amounts of young men that are fighting, they're pulling people off the streets. There's reports of vans pulling up and grabbing young military-age men and enlisting them and sending them directly into the front lines. There's a lot of scary reports that a generation is going to be gone forever, and I'm concerned about that. I think Ukraine has to come to the realization that they have a chance. And listen, there's been reports that Zelensky's been offered a deal. President Zelensky, flee to this country in Europe or this country in Europe. You'll have $100 million, whatever the number is, and you can sit there, retire in peace, and let the country get back on track. He still has said no to that, so we'll see.
We know that the president has stated, quote, Putin is playing with fire. Yet again, it's going to be
Yes.
interesting to see how all of this plays out. Let's bring it back a little local, if you will. President Trump has pardoned former Culpeper County Sheriff Scott Jenkins. Now, the president made the announcement just hours before Jenkins' 10-year prison sentence was set to begin. For those of you who don't know, Jenkins was convicted on conspiracy, wire fraud, and bribery charges. Trump saying Jenkins was a victim of a weaponized Justice Department under the Biden administration. Do you agree with the president's assessment?
Yeah, I think once a pardon is given, you have to realize they've done a lot of background checks on this. The FBI and the Justice Department actually have a team of secondary investigators that weigh the options, whether or not a pardon is good or bad. And then the political folks get in and they say this might be the right thing to do, but politically it's very bad for you. Scooter Libby, when he was pardoned in the first Trump administration, really garnered the love and appreciation of the Cheney family because they feel he was pardoned or convicted inappropriately, and George Bush #2 did not really pardon him. So I would say this particular man has really some angels on his side. Do I think they should have pardoned him? Look, he's an older man. They say he was giving badges for dollars. I will tell you, I have seen this as a retired Los Angeles police officer. I have seen this happen over and over again, including in large cities like Los Angeles, where for a donation or a specialty, or you will have a special badge. It doesn't say police officer. It'll say something else on it. But for all intents and purposes, I've seen it all on the West Coast. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in other places. Now, if the dollars go into your pocket, that's a problem. But
Yeah.
I've seen other issues similar to this skate by.
Eric will end with this, and that is the FBI deputy director saying the agency will now further investigate cocaine found in the White House. Obviously, that happened during the Biden administration. The incident has really garnered a lot of media attention and public interest, particularly among conservatives. What do you think, yet again, is going to happen with all of this?
Listen, the Secret Service really took a 1-2 punch over the last few years, specifically with the pipe bombing incident there by the DNC headquarters and the RNC headquarters. They also took a punch when they put a 5'2" person trying to guard a 6'4" person and when President Trump was shot. They also took a punch with this investigation, meaning the Secret Service should know better. As an investigative agency, it's really the FBI's responsibility to investigate, not the Secret Service. They don't really have an investigative arm. They have a protection arm. So for them to not bring in the FBI says something. Now, listen, there's some Biden White House insiders who have currently made the circuit, and she has indicated that she's pretty confident in it's Ashley Biden's. Now, that's an alleged, I guess, accusation, but it really can only be 1 or 2 people. Look, the entrance that came into, I've been to the White House and walked through that entrance. There are cameras everywhere. There are Secret Service agents everywhere, uniformed and plain clothes. I will tell you, these people will not let you get away. They know exactly who did it. And the last thing is this: when they say there's no DNA evidence or fingerprints, do you realize if somebody's walking through with rubber gloves, you don't think they're going to notice that? Of course there's DNA evidence. Of course there's fingerprints. If you're saying, oh, this was a crime scene made from Perry Mason, I'm saying there's something wrong with the story, and I think the FBI will get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, yet again, it's amazing that with all those cameras, we still don't know. Or perhaps,
Yes.
do we? We'll have to wait and see. Eric Hallaby, folks that want to get a chance to listen to you, sir, how would one go about to do so?
Yeah, every Sunday from 11 to 1 Pacific time on AM 870 The Answer, local radio. We get 30,000 listeners a weekend. It's a great show. Every Sunday from 11 to 1 Pacific time. Join us.
Truly appreciate you joining us right here on the Live Zone.